This story begins with a request for help. The girl, who was sitting with her hands tied and bleeding, asked for help, calling Alto to her. There was a burning house behind her, and in front of the young man who called to the girl. The guy, who was not far from her, tried to run to her, but he realized that his body was motionless and that he could not move. Trying to move himself, he asked someone to help him, because turning to Hannah, he understood that they could not lose. At that moment, someone above them said that it was already useless. It seems that the young man could not even scream, and all this was because of life. Life is an immutable law of fortune, such as the will of God. The hero had to delve into it because he was born with too weak a life and therefore can only watch in silence without doing anything. At that moment, someone who was talking to our hero was going to attack the girl, so that she was right in front of him. The young man, looking at this whole situation, asked himself that this someone stop, and he also begged himself to stop when this someone started attacking Hannah, who also could not move. The next moment, Hannah was startled, and our hero screamed with tears in his eyes. Looking at it, 15 years ago, a young man lost his beloved. He was looking for a way to revive Hannah by reading a lot of books. He seriously scoured the world to find a way to revive her. There were rumors that it was necessary to challenge the dragon in the dungeon, but the young man challenging the dragon did not know that the dragon was level 99. And yet he was looking for ways he could find it if he didn't turn 55. Being already old and standing in front of his opponent, our hero thought that victory was really impossible even at level 99. With his experience, how he was able to defeat the dragon. But now he will not return, he thought to himself, at least to his loved ones. The hero fought, bleeding and remembering Hannah, thinking that she would believe him because he tried, but still remained alone at this moment when his strength left him. With tears in his eyes, he remembered Hannah, because there was not a moment when he did not think about her, remembering the happy moments that connected them, and he apologized that he could not give her anything. Lie in front of the altar on which there was medicine. He thought that he could try and try again. In another place there was beautiful weather and a chair that stood under a tree on which there was something, and addressed our hero, spoke of words of gratitude, asking about how his life went, because the hero was in the paradise of fortune. And the young man, looking at the creature in front of him, understood that it turned out that he died. The creature explained that the person who got here was worthy of the tears of God. Enough time passed, and thought about what it was about him. A certain vessel revolved around our hero. The young man tried to understand what it was, where it was before him. The creature that was sitting on the chair said that the young man was granted the magic of resurrection. He could live his life anew. Hearing about the fact that he could live his life anew, the young man was very surprised. The next moment, the creature said that he could send him on vacation, if you can call it that. There was a beautiful field behind the creature, from flowers and meadows, because it seemed to the creature that then he will change the fate of the young man. But there is one condition: the term of 20 years, and there is only one chance. The power of fate is incredibly powerful, and his life runs out before he gets over it, and asked this being if the young man still wanted to start from the beginning. Our hero, remembering his Hannah, thought that of course he wanted this. The young man wanted to save the girl, and then the creature said that it was fine, so he offered to hear the young man's desire. The next moment it moved. The young man was already worn out. Our hero interrupted the creature, and said that it was not so. He wanted to live his life again. The hero answered clearly and loudly in front of the creature, if so. The creature answered, then he will change the fate of the young man, but there is one condition: the term of 20 years, and there is only one chance. The power of fate is incredibly powerful, and his life runs out before he gets over it. And asked this being if the young man still wanted to start from the beginning. Our hero, remembering his Hannah, thought that of course he wanted this. The young man wanted to save the girl, and then the creature said that it was fine, so he offered to hear the young man's desire. The next moment it moved into our hero, and then said that everything starts over. He will remember the rest himself. No, there is no other choice but to endure, making efforts to fulfill the desire, and offered to challenge his fate. So our hero, opening his eyes and looking at the two people who were in front of him again, found himself in the body of a baby. His parents were in front of him, so his second life began. Then someone called him, addressing Alto, and it was his parents, who are happy to welcome their baby, and asked him to wake up, wishing the boy good morning and saying that it was nice outside and the sun was shining, so you could go for a walk. Looking at your parents, Alto understood that he was back a baby. Then stretching out his hands to his parents, he said yes, and the parents in love looked at their son, wanting to hug him, to which the father pulled his hands to the child, and the mother, taking him in her arms, said that they had decided with the father that she would wake the baby. Then the father said that he would put to bed, and a happy mom, she said that she really wanted to hug her son. She was overwhelmed with feelings, calling the young boy a cutie. He only uttered inarticulate sounds, and thought to himself that everything was fine. He could not say a word to her. The neck was not fully developed yet. Looking at his mother, the son thought that she had long hair when he was born, and dad apparently had not grown a beard yet, and thought that it was wonderful because he was reborn. The next moment the parents approached their son to the window, and he was looking at the street thinking about that new life, and this time there was not a second to lose. Lying in his crib, our hero thought that he could not even suspect that the baby's body was so uncomfortable, so underdeveloped. First of all, he would like to walk, the boy thought, lying in his cradle at that moment. His mother was cutting food next to him and humming something to herself. The next moment our hero was thinking to himself that at least he could turn over, and then a window of the system appeared in front of him. When the boy pulled his hand to the side of the crib, but did not understand at all what it was in front of him, the system window displayed the first level and the data of our hero. His name is Alto, his first life, his profession is an operator, and his talent is a creator. Then mom came up to her son, asked what he had there. Then our hero pointed to the screen and said non-articulate sounds. The girl did not notice what our hero was pointing at and thought that she probably needed to change diapers, and the baby guessed that it looked like mom did not see this window at this moment. The system screen showed muscle strength 1, physical strength 1. Our hero thought that maybe these are the statuses of ability. He could assess the standard of living in the church. He had never heard that it is possible to translate ability into numerical equivalent. Maybe then everything happened in remembering his meeting with a certain being in paradise. Alto said that he would allow him to choose his special tattoo when hearing this. The young man asked the creature again, to which he said that it was given to people with a natural gift, geniuses, wars, magicians, technicians, or creators. It seems the young man was a genius. Whether he wanted to leave it, something asked him, to which the young man replied that he did not want the past because he wanted to be a creator. There are only 5 natural gifts in the world, but he had never heard of the gift of the creator. He had to see what he could do. Then, clicking on the system window, the baby saw that the gift of the creator was unique, and he saw the whole situation. If he could learn everything, he would raise the level, and thought that it was great. But then I saw that while she had the worst rating equal to 1, so I'll have to try, but he doesn't have time for it, our hero thought, and tried to get out of his cradle. Looking at this, my mother told my father to look carefully because Alto was trying to get up, and then my father said that he had never seen babies do this. The boy had to grow up a little. Our hero thought to himself that he didn't have time at all because there were 15 years left before Hannah's death. During this time, he had to become stronger than the magician who attacked her. There was not a second to lose. Besides, in his previous life, he lost not only Hannah. Looking at his mother and father, our hero thought mom looking at her son asked what happened to Alto because his face was very sad at that moment. Our hero hugged his mother and thought that 8 years later he lost his father and mother. Remembering how they died, it happened at night when Alto was 8 years old. Suddenly a horde of goblins appeared for the first time. Monsters attacked the village. The father defended his son and mother, shouting at the goblins to leave them alone. Our hero, looking at all this, thought that he was enveloped in fright, and with tears in his eyes he saw how his father was fighting goblins, and he only had a fear of death at that moment. His mother was running away with him in her arms, and then he just clung to his mother. Trying to scream, he followed his father, but it was too late. The next moment, the mother, running away, told Alto that everything was fine because mom would help him. But at that moment they were attacked by goblins, and the mother shouted that she would save her son. Then, throwing the young man away, the goblins took her away, and the mother shouted for her son to run because she would cope with them. The young man, scared, all I could do was just clench my teeth and run away with tears in my eyes. The mother apologized to her son because she loved him so much. While our hero was running away in tears from his parents, he couldn't do anything, so he just ran away. But this time in his second life he will save mom and dad. It's time to become stronger, our hero thought, sitting next to his parents in the cradle. Later Alto grew up and began to read books, and his intellectual strength status began to grow. Then the mother, taking the book away, told the young man to give it away, and he did not understand why he had to give the book. The next moment, the father, who thought that his lantern was not lit, tried to go look for his son. At this moment, the moment his lantern lit up the status window, said that the young man's magic power was at level 3 passivity. Working with magic power, a new restoration of magic power. When he grew up, he already began to jump very fast and run while the other guys were just watching him. His agility status and evasion skill level rose, so it was every time our hero could do something new. The next moment, 8 years flew by in an instant. The young man sat near the tree and used the gift and skill, which also increased. When mom came home, she told Alto that she congratulated him on his 8th birthday. She was very happy and hugged her son, to which he understood that his mother would crush him if she hugged him so much. His father said that the handsome guy was all in him and that they would immediately begin training the young man, and his mother said that it was a good idea, while I'm congratulated her son because in the Evening he goes to church, to which our hero agreed. Everyone who turns 8 years old is given special bracelets. This is a kind of identity card, and our hero also turned 8, the priest said, and asked stretch out his hands to Alto, to which the young man standing in the church stretched out his hand, and the priest gave a magic bracelet proving the identity of the young man. It is better to go to the big city with him, he said, and asked to be careful not to lose it. Having received our bracelet, the hero thought that at last, and that the goblins would arrive in the village in a few hours. He was already crying. He had to bring himself to his senses. Alto thought the time had come, remembering his past self. Our hero thought, because he would save this village. Leaving the church and coming to the forest, the young man wanted to open the skill board to see how much he had advanced. This was his status. The young man thought that it was probably necessary to reach 15 levels. It was necessary to increase the power, and magic was 32 levels in total, and Alto already knew how to use all the skills accumulated over 8 years. The only skill he didn't understand was the ability to create various functional objects, and our hero thought to himself that he hadn't activated this ability before because he didn't have this skill, and then he thought that it wouldn't hurt in battle, so he decided to activate this skill this time. The moment he realized that the goblins were already here, the goblins were already in the forest, and our hero, noticing them, hid behind a tree thinking that they had come, and there were 3 goblins in total. Most likely they were scouts. Our hero thought that he had to be calm. In the past he had defeated many monsters. Then the goblins noticed our hero, who was sticking right out from behind a tree, and ran straight to him. The young man thought that now would be the first fight in his second life. It was time to show what he had learned, and therefore concentrating magic, he thought that he trained every day and would not regret this time. He was the only one who could save the village, so our hero launched an attack on goblins using flames. Having killed 1 goblin, the young man thought that he had succeeded, and that it was not bad, but not enough. The next moment he was fighting another goblin, while another attacked him from behind, and dodging him, our hero understood that he should not have made mistakes. So after killing all 3 goblins, he thought about that it was necessary to strengthen the attacks, and lucky that I didn't meet any monsters yet. At the moment when our hero dealt with the goblins, the system showed that the level was raised. Our hero thought that it was cool. He was able to defeat them and also increase the level, raising the level, and the young man was already drunk, thinking that his head was spinning, but then he saw a goblin running at him with a sword. The goblin was able to injure the young man. Then our hero thought that was it really a new wave of goblins dealing with the next one. He saw that there was a whole horde behind him, and he was caught off guard. There were a lot of goblins, but without the arm that was wounded he would not be able to fight, and thought about that. Nothing has changed at this time. No matter how he struggles, he will not be able to change his fate. Our hero thought, remembering his beloved. Then the young man thought that he would not give up in using magic. He thought that he should have tried harder. At that moment the magic power reached level 50, and the skills that were obtained: Grave Reaper. When the young man saw the system window where the level increase was written, he thought that he had acquired the crafting skill, and the magic power would appear when the level increased. That's why he couldn't use it. Our hero thought at that moment there was a horde of goblins behind him. Our hero thought to himself, did they want to attack at him because they saw only his weaknesses but not his fighting skills, and what would they do to him? Our hero thought. The next moment one of the goblins began to attack the young man, dodging his sword. He thought that it was close to being wounded, and using his magic, or rather a fireball, our hero attacked the goblins and realized that it was harder with a cut hand, and this nastiness only became more this time. The moment a large number of goblins attacked our hero, and he thought this time there were 8 with such strength he would be able to fight them off, so the young man tried to believe in his strength. Grave skill was used the next moment, using magic, and then he was able to deal with the goblins who were falling right into the gorge. Realizing that Alto had done it, did the young man think that he could? It was a grave, it was a crafting skill. Looking at his hands, our hero fought and rejoiced that he did this, remembering his fate, and thought that it would change because Alto saved the village. At that moment the system showed him a level increase, and it was a lot of increases, probably because he defeated the goblins. Our hero fought. Once the level has risen, it means he has heard that if there is an opportunity to go a step higher, then the level increases. This is an increasing pain. The young man thought, losing consciousness. Then I opened my eyes. The young man realized that he was cold and something was flying around his face. He thought at that moment he saw a certain creature, and looking at him jumping away, he thought what it was. There was some beautiful slime in front of him, and then the slime showed him its head. The young man saw some kind of liquid and asked if he had to drink into it. Drinking what was in the slime's head, Alto thought about how good it was for him the slime was jumping in front of him at that moment, and then our hero thought about what it was looking at the slime that was right in front of him looking at this something. The young man thought that the slime was not like a dangerous monster and that she was friendly enough. At that moment the slime jumped right to our hero and climbed to his face, to which he did not understand what she wanted, and that touching the slime was very ticklish. The next moment our hero was already looking at the village where he was born, sitting on a mountain and thinking that a pretty small place surrounded by nature. At this moment the slime also looked ahead and showed something, but our hero said that he would not return here. There is a person he should, there was a way to save, but he was still weak, and it was possible that it was all useless. About a mile from here there is the city of Kenedigra, one of the best underground cities. The goal is to capture the upper floors, raise the level there as much as possible. Our hero thought. Then the guy remembered his beloved and thought about how he could level up. Thought and thanked the slime. At that moment she put one for magic stones directly into our hero's bag, and having magic stones there was no need to worry about expenses, he thought. Then the slime put the stone, it ran and shouted something on its own. The young man saw where to move. The slime thought that he had really found them a bed for the night. The next moment the young man looked out from behind a mountain, and the slime was sitting on it and looking at the night. The young man thought that it was just right, it was a cave, and he thought that today he would rest here because he had to go to Kenedigra tomorrow. After roasting a barbecue on the fire, he thought that there was a low-rank monster here, and it was easy to find food even without a fight, to which he was used. Finally his body began to look like itself in a previous life, fast-growing and unsurpassed. The next moment a system window appeared in front of our hero showing his level 32 and his characteristics, which increased each time. The young man was thinking that it was possible to raise the level more effectively while in the dungeon in order to become stronger. At that moment our hero was sitting on a stone and holding another stone in his hand, and while eating a kebab he saw that the slime that had climbed to him was also starting to eat a kebab. Looking at the slime that was on his hands, the young man asked him to try to eat rice and asked if he would really eat everything. Smiling, our hero looked at her and thought about finding something that inspires in collecting magic stones. He was very glad that he met the slime. Then our hero asked was he really a predator, and it was a small shock for the young man. At that moment someone was watching the hero from behind the mountain. When our hero felt that someone was watching him, he threw a stick from the barbecue directly towards the mountain where someone was hiding, and then he thought that someone was quickly dodging. The next moment the young man realized that it was moving so fast that he could not keep track of it, and then what was moving fast heard our hero, and he thought that if a bunch of attacks hit at such a speed he would not survive. Looking in front of him the young man saw a demon, not a man, a thief who came for magic stones. He thought at that moment that someone fell right in front of our hero, and then taking the kebabs in his hands, which were our hero's, a girl in the guise of a half-human half-animal stood in front of him looking at her. Our hero completely, I didn't expect this. The young man saw in front of him a girl who was eating his barbecue and asked if she was a monster, to which the girl replied that she was a magika and a traveler, and asked the young man who he was, to which our hero introduced himself saying that his name was Alto. The young man thought to himself that she was not like the monster and that the girl looked friendly. The girl looked at him. The guy said that she had very cute ears, and then she reported that she was from the squirrel tribe. Had the young man heard about this, but then she said that she didn't care. Our hero just looked at her questioningly, and the next moment the girl was already disappearing from his field of vision, was next to the campfire where our hero's food was fried. The next moment she asked if the young man did not mind if she finished it, to which our hero did not understand why she was doing this and where she was. He never heard please. At that moment the slime was trying to get the shish kebab from the girl's hands, which he took. The next moment in the morning when our hero woke up the girl was following him and the slime was already sitting on her. Shoulder. Then our hero asked why the girl was following him, to which she told Alto that he was still a child, she needed to go to the cinema, so she follows him, to which our hero asked Majiku if she herself was still a child. The girl said that if you look like an adult you still remain a child, to which our hero was asked to think that he was already an adult even though he was going to go alone, but then it suddenly dawned on him, and turning to Magica, Alto said that time would pass faster and it was necessary to go. I smile at the girl, the young man said, to which she agreed. The next moment the young man was pointing in front of him, saying that he had seen him, and it was Akinatorgris. The landscape of the city appeared in front of the guys behind a large wall, and approaching the city, passing through the gate, they were greeted by residents. First a girl came across who said that there was everything for them, low taxes and no criminal record, and offered they pass into the city. Since ancient times, Kinetagras means chaos, a wide variety of races. It's all about the dungeon towering in the center. People fascinated by the dungeon one by one gather in this city. At that moment, as the heroes entered the city, Magica was very scared. The young man asked what happened, to which she said that she was going through and seeing so many people for the first time. Turning to Magica, the young man said that he himself was from the village, and to which the girl replied that she lived on the street. The young man